Okay, let's get into this deep dive. Today, we're going to share some stories with you. These are really unsettling accounts based on sources you've sent us about online dating experiences that just went wrong, very wrong.
Yeah. What we've got here are details from several encounters. They all started online, a match on an app, but they took these unexpected, sometimes horrifying turns.
So our goal here is to walk through these accounts. We'll look at the sequence of events, the key details provided in the material you shared, just to understand what happened in each case. We're sticking strictly to what's in those sources.
Exactly. We're following the narrative laid out in the material.
All right, first up is Marissa's story. She was 23, matched with a guy supposedly named Luke, 25, on Tinder. They chatted, exchanged numbers.
And the details say it shifted pretty quickly from general stuff like music to more sexual topics. Sounds like both were looking for something casual.
Luke suggested she come over to his place, said he was alone. But here's a key thing the source points out. He only gave his address after he asked where she was.
And the address he gave. Super convenient, like only a 10-minute walk for her. That proximity feels important in how this plays out.
Before going, though, Marissa asked for a quick phone call. She said he sounded, like a normal young guy. They joked a bit. She felt okay enough to think about going.
Smart move, though. She decided to be cautious. Her plan was to walk by the house first, kind of scope it out before the actual meeting time. So late at night, she did just that.
And this is where, according to the source, the first major red flag pops up. When she got near the address, she saw multiple cars. 2 in the driveway, 1 parked out front.
And all the lights in the house were off.
Yeah.
The material stresses that it did not look like a place where just one guy was hanging out alone.
Yeah, she immediately got, quote, bad vibes. So she walked past, went down the block a bit, and texted Luke, "I'm almost there."
His reply was kind of weird, too. "Oh, you're early? Almost ready? Walk slow." Like maybe trying to stall her.
That's how the source seems to interpret it. She started walking slowly back towards her own place, hoping he'd text like, "Okay, come on in."
But then she heard a call behind her. A white van, the source specifies, driving with no headlights on. It turned onto the street and parked just a few houses down from Luke's supposed address.
Nobody got out, just sat there.
Super creepy. She reacted fast, ran, and hid behind the side of a nearby house, just watching the van.
And right then, she gets another text from Luke. "Okay, I'm ready. Let me know when you're on my block. I'll come out."
She didn't reply. She just bolted. Ran the rest of the way home, staying close to the houses, trying to stay hidden from the street.
Once she was safe, she blocked his number, reported the profile on Tinder.
And there's a follow-up in the material. Marissa and her mom actually went to that address later. A woman answered, said she didn't have any sons. They filed a police report too.
The source concludes her caution, scoping the place out, trusting that gut feeling. It likely saved her from being potentially abducted by whoever was in that van.
A really close call.
Definitely. Okay, next story. This one involves someone named Chaz, and the material calls it a park trap. He matched with what he thought were 2 girls his age.
Yeah, the opening message was something like, "My friend and I think you're really cute." He checked. Yep. The friend was supposedly a girl. They exchanged locations, found out they lived pretty close.
So they suggested meeting up that same night, around 10 p.m. Chaz was up for it.
But here's the first red flag the source points out. They refused to meet at either of their houses. Their excuse was, parents are both home, even though Chaz said his parents were home too.
Right, instead they suggested a park. "We can find a place to hang there," they said. And Chaz, well, he agreed.
Then came the second red flag, also highlighted in the source. They wouldn't give him their phone numbers. Said they needed to earn your trust first. Let's just message on here until we meet.
Still, he went along with it. The meeting spot itself sounds kind of sketchy, based on the description, by a statue on a dirt path in the park.
Described as like a dog walking path. No one will be there this late. The idea was supposedly to meet there and then figure out where to go.
So Chaz gets to the park just after 10, messages them, "I'm here," then sends another one. "This is kind of creepy, are you guys here?"
And the source says that was his last message. Right after he sent it, the profile unmatched him.
Poof. Just like that, he's alone. In the woods, in a park, late at night. He realized pretty quickly he'd been set up.
Then it got worse. He started hearing noises from the woods around him. Snapping of twigs and leaves. The material makes it clear he was being watched.
He already had his phone out using the flashlight, so he decided, maybe for safety or evidence, to start recording video.
And the recording, according to the source, caught something terrifying. He pointed the light towards a noise, and it revealed someone who then immediately started to run out from the trees and chase after Chas.
He stopped recording for a second to turn off the flashlight, make himself less visible, and ran into the trees to hide.
After a bit, when he thought he'd lost whoever it was, he started recording again. Just documented his walk back out of the park to his car.
Luckily, the source says he got home safe. He tried to report the profile to Tinder with screenshots he'd taken earlier.
But Tinder's response apparently was that they couldn't find any profiles that matched.
So the source really flags those red flags. Meeting in a secluded park late at night where nobody would be there. And that refusal to share phone numbers, the conclusion is pretty clear. He was lucky to get away.
Yeah, meeting in public, well-lit places. This story really drives home why that advice is so important.
Okay, let's shift to a really bizarre one. This was submitted by a girl about her friend Maddie. Maddie matched with this profile titled Invincibles.
And the premise was just weird. It claimed to be a guy, maybe with a partner named Chelsea, offering cash like $50 to $100 for someone to come over and kick the man in the profile picture, in the groin.
Seriously strange. But Maddie apparently needed money due to the pandemic, so she swiped right.
Got a quick message back mentioning other people involved, including this Chelsea. The friend telling the story says they were both really skeptical if any of it was real.
They lived in a small town in Pennsylvania. The profile listed Clearfield, which was a couple of towns away. Maddie was suspicious enough to ask her friend to come along, for backup.
The explanation given for the whole setup, it was supposedly for a YouTube video. The guy lost a bet or something like that.
Despite the weirdness, the friend agreed to go. Felt like she could handle things if it got strange.
So the next day, they drive towards Clearfield. But the first address they get, it's for a random hotel in Clearfield. The friend notes this sort of creeped us out, especially since Maddie hadn't mentioned bringing anyone.
Right. They waited there for like an hour, got a text saying there was a delay, and then a new plan. Just come straight to their house instead, since they were back now.
The friend said she was already feeling a little off, but, still felt okay about handling it.
When they finally got to the house, there was this moment of relief. It looked like a big, normal-looking house right next to the main road.
But then, they saw it. A creepy-looking shed behind the house. And peering out from the side of the shed door, an even creepier-looking man.
Oh, wow. And Maddie parked the car right in front of the shed, told her friend to wait in the car. The friend wrote this, screamed the worst things to her. But she trusted Maddie's judgment, maybe because the whole thing was so weird anyway.
The man comes out of the shed, and up close he looked even creepier. Described as skin and bones with hair hanging past his shoulders, seemed really nervous and twitchy.
And crucially, the source points out, he looked nothing like the guy in the Tinder profile picture.
Maddie asked him, "Hey, is it okay I brought my friend?" Just as a precaution.
And the friend saw his expression just drop. That screamed another red flag. He kind of stuttered, "Yeah, that's fine, I guess."
That was it for the friend. She got out of the car, mentioning she grabbed the knife in my pocket in a hurry and followed Maddie into the shed, and instantly regretted it.
The inside, described as filthy, cluttered with random stuff, boxes, and there was a toilet just sitting in the corner. The friend suspected, based on his behavior, that the guy might be an addict.
He was setting up his laptop, apparently, to record this whole thing. While he was doing that, the friend noticed Snapchat was installed on his computer.
Which was the app Chelsea had been messaging them from. So the friends started thinking, wait, maybe he was Chelsea all along, just using another device to keep up the act.
He seemed angry and tense once the recording was set up, maybe surprised they actually showed. Then, Maddie did. Well, what they came there for.
And immediately after, he asks them, so what are you guys doing tonight? Do you guys smoke? Meaning weed. They both quickly said no, made excuses, even though they both did smoke, just wanted out.
Right, the vibe shifted. Maddie grabbed the cash, and they left fast. The friend wrote that, looking back, even though nothing overtly violent happened, she had this strong feeling that if I wasn't there, then something bad would have happened.
And later, Maddie told her that Chelsea had actually offered beforehand to rent a hotel room and buy her pizza.
So the friend concludes in the source that something way more malicious had been planned. That the guy in the photo wasn't the guy in the shed. Chelsea probably didn't exist. It really underlines that safety in numbers idea.
Such a strange, unsettling story. Okay, let's talk about Jeremy's experience. This one's about catfishing, another reminder to be careful. He matched with someone named Mia, who'd actually been in his high school class.
Yeah, the initial chat was just catching up. Hey, long time no see. Have you been? That kind of thing. They admitted they hadn't really talked much back in school.
Then the profile claiming to be Mia suggested they make up for lost time. Jeremy agreed, and they swapped Snapchats to talk more there.
So the conversation moved to Snap. We don't have screenshots, but the source says they talked about life after high school and eventually decided to meet up.
The plan was a nearby parking lot behind a strip mall, a place where the material notes nobody goes at night.
Jeremy lived close, like 5 minutes away, so he was ready pretty much right away. But Mia said she was out with friends and couldn't ditch them, needed another hour and a half at least. They set the time for midnight. 12 a.m.
Jeremy got there, waited maybe 20 minutes, kept getting snaps every few minutes, apologizing for being late. Then finally, headlights pull into the lot.
The car approached slowly, stopped not far from his. Then he gets a snap from the profile. It's a picture of his car saying, "I think I see you."
So Jeremy gets out of his car to wave or confirm, and instantly he realizes something's wrong. The car isn't right. It was a small car, like a Honda or Hyundai.
But Jeremy knew the real Mia's Instagram. It was full of pictures of her Jeep Cherokee. This wasn't her car.
Alarm bells ringing. He gets right back in his car and starts to DM the actual Mia on Instagram to check. While he's typing, the car outside starts honking at him.
He quickly goes back to Snapchat and messages the imposter. "Hey, step out from your car and let me see you first."
There's a pause, like half a minute, the source notes. Then the reply, "I don't want to. It's so cold out. What's wrong?"
Yeah, at that point, Jeremy wrote he knew something was off. He just put his car in drive and started heading home.
And the other car, it followed him, honking its horn.
Jeremy decided to get onto the highway. As soon as he did, the car following him just peeled off, disappeared.
He pulled over for a second to block the Snapchat account, but discovered they'd already blocked him first.
Wow. So he gets home, and the real Mia had actually replied to his Instagram message by then.
Their chat, as laid out in the source, started with Jeremy saying, "This may sound really, really weird," asking if he matched her on Tinder. She's confused, asks why.
He explains the whole thing matching the catfish profile, thinking it was her, talking about high school, setting up the meeting, seeing the wrong car, the random car, not your Jeep, and driving off when it got creepy. He even sent her the screenshots of the Snapchat he'd had with the imposter.
Just goes to show you really don't always know who's behind the profile. Now let's move to a case that unfortunately became much more public and tragic. Rena Wright and Gable Toasty. They matched on Tinder back in August 2014.
According to the material, Gaber wasn't Warina's usual type. She thought he looked like he spent maybe too much time on his appearance, but he reminded her of a character from a TV show she liked, Supernatural.
His first message, the source states, was very forward, maybe even aggressive. Something like, "You look delicious. I want to do dirty things to you."
Warina's reply was pretty direct. Does that usually work?
The conversation stayed sexual. He asked if she was a freak in the sheets. She said, "Probably not. Dependent on what I've had to drink, lol."
Gable kept pushing that angle. "Let's get drunk together. I'm a porn star after a few drinks." After a few more messages like that, Warina gave him her number.
They met up in person about a week later at Cavill Mall, spent the night together, and the source emphasizes they were heavily drinking. There's CCTV footage showing them meeting, going to bars, buying more alcohol, and then heading back to Gable's apartment. He lived on the 14th floor of the Avalon Apartments.
Gable apparently took some photos that night, 6 of them. They showed the couple looking like they were having a good time, apparently laughing and smiling, in the apartment and out on the balcony. That balcony becomes central later.
Yes. And here's a really disturbing detail the source highlights. Gable recorded audio of the entire night with Warina, including the argument that followed.
The source mentions this recording was key evidence later, and it apparently came out that Gable had this weird habit of recording his dates with women.
The audio itself, as described, is horrifying. After they had sex, Warina apparently became increasingly erratic and aggressive. The situation escalated, and the recording captures Gable refusing to let her leave.
You can hear her terrified screams to let her go home, which are then silenced when he physically forces her out and locks her outside on the balcony.
The source also notes that the prosecution later argued, based on analysis of the audio, that Gable could allegedly be heard choking Warina right before he locked her out there.
The transcript excerpts provided in the source material are just awful. Warina's speech is slurred. She's accusing him, "Stole my fucking phone," using aggressive language, "You bitch fuck," demanding her things. "There's my shit. Where's your phone? Where is my shit?"
She mentions money, accuses him of assault, You beat me up for no reason. You hear Gable's voice, too, threatening her.
You're lucky I haven't chucked you off my fucking balcony, you goddamn psycho little bitch.
And Warina sounds terrified. You trying to kill me, huh? Let me go home.
The source notes they both sounded drunk, but Warina seemed a lot drunker.
Then the tragedy. Trapped on the 14th floor balcony, Warina apparently thought the only way to escape would be attempting to climb down the building. She fell to her death. Gable, who was 28, was arrested.
But he was ultimately acquitted of all charges, murder and manslaughter. The prosecution argued he unlawfully deprived her of her liberty by locking her out, leading to her desperate and fatal escape attempt.
His defense argued she was extremely drunk, acting irrationally, and her death was a tragic accident, not caused by his actions in the legal sense. The prosecution countered that his actions, including the alleged choking and trapping her, instilled such fear that she felt climbing down was her only option.
There was also audio released of a phone call Gable made to his father right after it happened. In that call, the source says, Gable admitted things had become violent, that he locked her on his balcony, but he insisted, I didn't push her or anything, I just chucked her out on the balcony and shut the door because she was baiting me up.
Adding to the picture, a neighbor reportedly stated that loud arguments involving women coming from Gable's apartment could be heard quite often, suggesting maybe this wasn't an isolated type of incident.
The source concludes by mentioning the significant public outrage over the acquittal. Many people, it says, still believe Gable was responsible for her death.
A truly horrifying outcome from a Tinder date.
Absolutely. Okay, the next case we have details on is Joy Pipple and Alexander Villaluna. Joy was 39, a nurse in Sydney. She'd recently divorced and was looking at it as a new beginning.
Yeah, the source mentions her social media reflected that. Posts about New Year, new beginnings, pictures of flowers from admirers, cards from her kids calling her the best mother, an independent mother and woman.
She started using Tinder in March 2016. She was originally from the Philippines, trained as a nurse in New Zealand, then moved to Sydney. She had 4 kids, 3 from a previous relationship, and 1 younger son with her ex-husband, Alexander.
On Tinder, she connected with Keith Collins, a 53-year-old businessman. He had kids and stepkids, too. They chatted, hit it off, and decided to meet for dinner on March 30th, 2016. They went to a Korean barbecue place.
They were just finishing their meal when, according to the source, a man walked up to their table. He put his arm around Keith. It was Joy's ex-husband, Alexander Villaluna. He asked Keith what he was doing with his wife.
Keith just calmly replied, "Just having dinner." And Alexander's reaction was immediate and violent. The source says he grabbed Keith around the neck with one arm and with the other hand pulled out a hunting knife and stabbed him in the stomach.
Joy started screaming at Alexander to stop, yelling, "We were just having dinner."
After attacking Keith, Alexander turned the knife on Joy, his estranged wife, as the source puts it, stabbed her once in the chest and again in the arm when she tried to block him.
Keith had fallen down but was trying to get back up. Alexander then got on top of him. The source describes this chillingly. Using both hands, he punched the knife into his chest repeatedly, 5 more times. Keith was stabbed a total of 11 times.
11 times. After that brutal attack, 11 times on Keith, twice on Joy. Alexander just calmly walked out of the restaurant.
Joy managed to run out too. Alexander started to follow her, but then, the source says, he just gave up and went back inside the restaurant.
And what did he do? He sat down next to Keith's body and just waited for the police to arrive. He surrendered immediately, no struggle, admitted he attacked Keith because he was having dinner with his ex-wife.
Joy survived her injuries, thankfully. She was taken to the hospital.
The source gives some background. Joy and Alexander met years earlier, both training as nurses, both from the Philippines. Joy later claimed he was abusive from the start, controlling, wouldn't let her have friends or leave the house much.
They had separated, and Joy had actually gotten a restraining order against him 2 years before Keith's murder.
And his response to that restraining order, according to the material, he told Joy he would kill her if she ever dated another man. Although later, apparently, he also said he'd spare her because of their son. Chilling threats.
Alexander pleaded guilty to murder in September 2017. When he had the chance to apologize in court, the source says he stated it was difficult to say he was sorry because he was still angry about what happened to him.
Unbelievable. He also apparently made claims to probation services that Joy blamed herself for their issues and would have been happy to have been killed by him, and that he attacked Keith in self-defense.
But the source is clear. CCTV footage clearly showed that he was the aggressor. The judge even commented that the most heinous part was continuing to stab Keith while he was already down and dying.
He was sentenced in October 2017. 40 years in prison, minimum 30 years. He'll be eligible for parole March 30th, 2046. He'll be 74.
Just a horrific story of jealousy and control escalating to murder, stemming from an online date. Finally, let's look at the case of Grace Mullane and Jesse Kempson. Grace was 21, from England, backpacking around the world.
Right. The source details her journey. She flew to Peru for 10 days, then arrived in Auckland, New Zealand on November 30th, 2018. That was just 2 days before her 22nd birthday.
She was staying in a hostel, making friends, described as an outgoing social butterfly. On that first evening, November 30th, she was taking it easy, started swiping on Tinder, maybe looking to meet locals, make more friends.
She connected with someone named Jesse. They made plans for a date the very next day, December 1st. Her bunkmate saw her getting ready and leaving for the date that evening.
A few hours into the date, she sent a message to a friend back home, said the date was going really well, that she felt a connection with Jesse.
But not long after that message, her phone went silent. Social media stopped. Just nothing.
The next day, December 2nd, was her birthday. Family and friends sent messages, called no reply. Concern grew over the following days. She was officially reported missing to Auckland police on December 5th.
She had 2 phones for travel, the source notes, and both had been going straight to voicemail since December 2nd. Her father flew out to New Zealand to help with the search.
Police started piecing things together using CCTV. They tracked her leaving the hostel at 5:37 p.m. on December 1st, walking to the Sky City complex.
Footage shows her meeting Jesse there. They hugged, went inside Sky City, had drinks for about 90 minutes. Looked like they were hitting it off.
Then they moved to a Mexican cafe for more drinks, then to another bar, the Blue Stone Room. Things got more intimate there. They were seen kissing.
At one point, Jesse went to the bathroom. That's apparently when Grace sent that message to her friend saying the date was going well.
He came back, and they left the bar together around 9:40 p.m. holding hands. They walked towards the City Life Hotel where Jesse rented an apartment.
The last time Grace was seen alive was on CCTV entering the elevator with Jesse and getting out on his floor.
The next morning, December 2nd, Grace's birthday CCTV captured Jesse's movements. He leaves the building alone, goes out and buys cleaning supplies and a large suitcase, takes them back to his apartment.
Leaves again, takes a taxi to rent a car. Then, incredibly, he goes to another bar to meet a second Tinder date that same day.
And that date, according to the source, ended quickly because the woman found him really creepy, especially after he started talking about the best places to hide a dead body.
Just unbelievable. After that failed date, he went back to his apartment building, borrowed a carpet steam cleaner, spent a couple of hours in his apartment.
Then he gets a hotel luggage cart, takes it to his room, and comes back out with the cart loaded with that new large suitcase and some smaller bags, loads it all into his rental car.
The next morning, December 3rd, around 7 a.m., he buys a brand new shovel, returns to the apartment building after 9 a.m., stops at a random public trash can and throws some items away, takes his rental car to be professionally cleaned, also drops stuff off at a dry cleaner.
Police caught up with him a few days later, brought him in for questioning. They clearly suspected his involvement based on the timeline and evidence they were gathering.
The source includes parts of the police interview transcript. Jesse initially talks about matching Grace, meeting her, being worried about catfishing himself initially, hence meeting at Sky City. Lots of people around.
He first claimed the date ended normally. A hug, kiss on the cheek, nice meeting you, talk about maybe meeting again tomorrow. Then she walked off. A complete lie.
The police then confronted him more directly. We actually don't know if she's been murdered or not yet. She might also be dead. And it could be that you've done it.
Jesse reacts, asking if he's being arrested for something he didn't do. And then they arrest him.
Forensic teams examined Jesse's apartment. Despite his cleaning attempts, luminol revealed bloodstains, Grace's blood. In a second interview on December 7th, Jesse's story changed dramatically. He admitted driving out to the Wataka Ranges, buying the shovel, going into the bush, digging a hole, getting the suitcase from the car, burying it, covering the hole, and driving back.
He also admitted during questioning to throwing her belongings, everything that was in the room, into a public trash bin in Albert Park. Said he was just panicking.
When asked directly if he injured or killed Grace, he denied it. No. But he was then formally arrested for her murder. Police also found intimate photos Jesse had taken of Grace's body before putting her in the suitcase.
Investigators used his phone's GPS data and Google search history he'd searched for the Wataka Ranges area, which led them directly to where they found the buried suitcase containing Grace's body.
He was found guilty of murder, sentenced to life in prison, minimum 17 years before parole.
And the source adds, while he was incarcerated, 2 more women came forward. They accused him of sexually assaulting them after they also matched with him on Tinder in separate incidents prior to Grace's murder.
He was convicted on 8 more charges relating to those assaults in October 2020. Got an additional 11-year sentence, served concurrently. He's currently in prison in Auckland.
Just an absolutely devastating end to a young woman's travels, stemming from a Tinder date with a predator. Looking back at all these stories drawn from the material you provided, some really chilling patterns emerge, don't they?
They really do. You see the deception right from the start. Profiles that lie about who they are, what they look like, what their intentions are. You see the danger of isolated locations, whether it's a park path, a shed, or even someone's apartment when things turn bad.
And that instinct, that gut feeling. Marissa's bad vibes, Chaz feeling creepy, the friend with Maddie sensing danger. Trusting that feeling seems crucial in several of these accounts.
Definitely. And sadly, we also see the potential for extreme violence, often rooted in control, jealousy, or predation, hidden behind a seemingly normal dating profile. The speed at which things escalated in some cases is terrifying.
What these accounts really highlight, based just on the details here, is that while online dating is common, caution isn't just, a good idea. It can literally be a lifesaver. The person behind the screen isn't always who they present themselves to be.
Exactly. That digital persona can be carefully crafted. It's the real-world interaction where the truth and sometimes the danger is revealed.
Well, these are difficult stories to cover, but thank you for sharing the source material that allowed us to explore them. It certainly gives us, and hopefully you listening, a lot to think about regarding safety in the age of online dating.
Yes, thanks for walking through these accounts with us.
If you found this deep dive into the material valuable, please do consider liking this video, sharing it, and subscribing to our channel, Horror Docs. We appreciate your support.